Hi everyone, and welcome to our latest Price Know-How Snippets. As usual, we'll be trying to give you the heads up really early on in the month in terms of what we think is likely to be happening. I'm joined as usual by Mike Boswell, our Managing Director, who's going to talk to you about some of the things that are likely to affect the market and feedstock prices. And then we'll move over to Ian, who will talk to you about ethylene and propylene and what that means for polymers. So over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Katherine. I'll start with the easy one, which is exchange rates. So basically, very stable. December and January. So against the euro, both months 116. Against the dollar, both months 127. So very, very stable there. Oil prices, we've seen a slight uptick in oil prices. Nothing significant really, but around about $2 on the average. So in December, the average price per barrel was 77.18. In January, 79.15. Move up in the minimum as well, a bit higher, $2.65 from 73.24 to 75.89. And the high price, that went up by $2.88 from 80.67 to 83.55 in January. Put it in pounds per tonne, it's around about £10 from £459.21 in December to £469.13 in January. And I'm sure Ian's going to come on to talk about shipping issues and the Red Sea crisis. But actually, oil has remained pretty calm through all of this, suggesting a couple of things. One is still concerns about global economic outlook and demand for energy. Probably the other one is the view that reserves and supplies are sufficient to meet with demand, and any disruption on shipping through the Suez Canal will not impact on availability of oil. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Ian, who's going to talk about a much more turbulent situation, both in terms of monomers, but particularly in terms of polymers. Ian, over to you.
Oh, many thanks, Mike and Katherine. Yeah, so on the back of some minor changes in oil price, so monomers have shown some slight upward movement. So ethylene has gone up by €5 from 11.85 to 11.90 euros, and propylene has gone up by €15 from 1,050 to 1,065 euros. However, this is largely irrelevant when it comes to polymer pricing heading into February. And whilst it's relatively early in the month, it's a very, very strong indication of big increases. Think in terms of an average of around about €150 per tonne, so around about £130. It'll be higher than that probably for LDPE because it's very, very tight. It might be slightly lower than that for HDPE because it's not quite as tight. And the general message is that these prices are being driven by a short-term supply shock, driven by the Red Sea issues, because whilst there is plenty of material in the world, globally speaking, we're still slightly in an oversupply situation. We're very, very tight right now here in Europe. And so a lot of people who've been operating on a just-in-time basis are now finding that they cannot get quick replenishment and are sort of scrabbling around. And so consequently, there's not a lot of material and prices are rising accordingly. So already heard of order stops on LDPE from two major European producers, one of whom actually announced it on the 31st of January, didn't even wait for February to announce an order stop. We're also seeing issues in terms of USA Imports, who are a large producer of HDPE and LLDPE, which comes into Europe and the UK, and that's also been slightly restricted as well. There are sort of force majeures in place, and also talking back about monomers, so ethylene and propylene are both a little bit short in supply. There's been some restrictions in terms of their availability, and it was reported to me this morning that even if the European producers wanted to produce more polyethylene and polypropylene in Europe, they're probably not able to get feedstock immediately either. So we're just seeing restrictions in terms of local production, restrictions in terms of imports. Consequently, we're just sort of seeing a very, very strong price increase this month. I do expect it to be relatively short-lived. Within the next sort of couple of months, this will probably sort of settle down. And for the first 6 months of the year, generally speaking, things are going to be sort of relatively sort of downbeat. But there are some economic indicators sort of globally. The Purchasing Managers Index is now hit 50 again. And I think some major producers have indicated that consumer demand is expected to improve fairly significantly in the second half of the year. So overall, towards the end of the year, we are going to start to see some overall price improvement if you're thinking about the long term. But for the very short term, it's a big increase. Please keep talking to us and we'll do our best to give you more information.
Thanks very much, Ian. As Ian said, there'll be much more information out when we issue our full price know-how report around the middle of the month. But in the meantime, if myself, Mike or Ian can give any assistance, let us know. And I'm sure that your customer service team would also be delighted to help you. So thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.